MacGuffin Reviews. Citadel. Season 1, Episode 1, The Human Enigma. And this is brought to us by Prime Video. Yeah, this is movie level stuff here. The money has been spent. I hear it's 300 million. So that's a lot of money on a series. And it's executive produced by the Russo brothers. And you must know them from the Avengers movies, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Extraction, The Grey Man. And so yeah, good people behind this. We have a director of this first episode is Newton Thomas Sigel, and he's directed episodes of House and cinematographer turned director. Some great work in cinematography. He's done The Five Bloods, The Usual Suspects, Blood and Wine, Apt Pupil, Three Kings, X-Men 1 and 2, Superman Returns, Jack the Giant Slayer, X-Men Apocalypse, Days of Future Past, and Extraction. So he's done a lot of work with Bryan Singer. And yeah, does a fine job here on this episode. And yeah, because the pilot's always an important episode, so it's hard to get right. You have to draw the people in. Our two leads here are Richard Madden and Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Richard Madden plays Mason Kane, and Chopra Jonas plays Nadia Singh. And yeah, two fine actors. They do a great job here. From the start of this, we're thrown into the action. I'll just go over some of the work they've done. Richard Madden, Game of Thrones, Bodyguard, great work on that. Rocket Man, 1917, Eternals. Priyanka Chopra Jonas, she's worked on The Matrix. Which one was it? Resurrection. The White Tiger, Baywatch, Dawn 2, Mary Com, and Boyera Mastoni. And we also have Stanley Tucci in this, who plays Bernard Orlick. He's our tech genius. And yeah, you have to have a tech guy in the spy genre movie. You may have seen him in Kiss of Death, Road to Perdition, The Terminal, Devil Wears Prada, Lovely Bones, Margin Call, The Hunger Games, Spotlight. And so our scenario here is we're thrown into this situation on a train. It's in Italy. It's a real fast, sort of cool train. Our two spies are hunting a Gregor who has a case of enriched uranium, and they're out to get the case from him. But the tables are soon turned, and we find out that Gregor knows who they are, and that it's all a setup, and he is he's out to kill them. There's other agents belonging to his group, which is called Manticore, and they want to take over Citadel. They want to wipe Citadel out, and Mason Kane and Nadia Singh work for the Citadel. So he tells them of their plot to wipe out all the spies that work for Citadel, and yeah, that's where we start with this. Manticore are taking over, and so what we get here is we get a great fight scene in a toilet on the train between Richard Madden and another agent. We get cool gunfights that remind me of a lot of this reminds me of John Wick. These fight scenes, that sort of close. They're very intimate fight scenes, and so yeah, it doesn't feel like anything new really. And the train reminds me of that the first Mission Impossible movie. I think with all the spy genre now, all the spy movies we have had, and with the Mission Impossible movies and James Bond, you have to have something new, and that's something that you haven't seen before. And Tom Cruise is going for that in his movies, and so it's very hard to top what he's done. And yeah, so you have to be giving the viewer something new that just wows them, I think, at this stage. And not seeing much of that here with this. But yeah, the fight scenes and the gun fights on this are very well done. And okay, so our man Gregor decides he's not getting his way. Kane and Singh are shooting his people, and he decides to blow up the train. The train crashes. Mason Kane loses his memory. He survives. We don't know what happens to Nadia Singh, and that's how this begins. And cut to 8 years later. Mason Kane has started. He still hasn't remembered. He's getting flashbacks to remember Nadia, but he's started a new life in America. He hasn't remembered who he was, and he's got a daughter now and a wife, and decides to put his DNA into the, sort of whatever, try to find out who is he relates to anyone, does he have any relatives. So he decides to put his DNA on the whatever. So yeah, of course, his name comes up with Bernard Orlick, who's also survived, and he goes and captures him and rescues him before Manticore do. And he grabs Mason's family as well, and they all he gets them back to his secret location and tells them that he needs his help and who he is. As this is happening, we're meeting a new character called Dahlia Archer. She's ambassador for England, for United Kingdom in America, and she's with Manticore, and she is trying to get her hands on the Citadel's X case. Now, this X case has all the codes to nuclear weapons, and it's a very important case, and she wants to get her hands on that. She sends these two twin brothers to get the case, which is in Miami, in a black site, CIA black site location. So she gets her hands on this case. She also has a connection. She got this information from Secretary McCullough, played by Peter Garrity, and yeah, he owed Manticore a favor. He used to work for Manticore, and he tells her where this case is. So the case becomes important. Bernard Orlick wants the case. He doesn't want Manticore getting their hands on this case, and he starts explaining who Citadel is and who Manticore is. So we find out that Citadel is a global agency, and it's tasked to uphold the safety and security of all people. And he tells them that it was destroyed 8 years earlier by operatives of Manticore, who are a powerful syndicate manipulating the world from the shadows, and they want to create a new world order. He also tells in the background of how the Citadel started. He says, because of all these different spy agencies around the world starting wars and assassinating world leaders and causing chaos, 100 years ago, a group of spies and friends recruited individuals from around the world to create a spy organization loyal to no man and no nation, loyal only to the safety and security of all people, the last line of defense for good in the world. And so that's what Citadel's all about. They're the good guys of the whole world. They're protecting the whole world, and they're not just looking after their own interests. And he also explains how Manticore started. 8 of the wealthiest families from around the world formed Manticore. They built their own network to manipulate the world's events and amass wealth and power. And if they get their hands on the nuclear codes, they'll be able to murder millions of people and hold entire nations to ransom or hostage. So these codes are very important. And Bernard Orlac needs Mason's help. And he says, look, if you help me, I'll help you remember your past. I'll help you remember, he'll just, they'll both help each other. So yeah, that's what you get here. You get your main action in the first, at the start of this with the train scenes, and then you have the background story and what's happened to Mason. You don't find out what's happened to Nadia Singh, which might happen in the next episode. But all in all, a reasonable start, a decent start. Nothing you haven't seen before for me. I didn't see anything that would top the Mission Impossible movies or any like stunts. But look, this is early on. This is the first episode. We'll see what happens. But at the moment, I have, good expectations. Hopefully we'll see, something that will, surprise us and something new. So for me, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I have hope. I have high hopes. So don't let me down, Citadel. And this is free on Prime Video. They're throwing the money at it. And worth a watch. Fred MacGuffin's Reviewed Citadel.